What's up, guys? Welcome to Nimble Minds Talks of Self and Spirituality, where we talk about different philosophical perspectives as well as spiritual practices. So, I previously just recorded those last two videos, but specifically the last video I just made. Near the climax of that video, I start talking about how body count, you can basically equate that with internet connection, and the lower your body count is, the higher your connection is. Basically, it's like fiber connection, pretty much LAN cable connection, right? Like 0 to 3. And the higher your body count is, the lower your connection is. That's when you're getting to like, you got like 10 bodies, 20 bodies, you basically got like 1 bar connection at that point. Like 50 bodies, 200, bro, basically SOS, airplane mode. And if you want to get that up, you're just gonna have to get with someone that also was in that situation, and then you guys raise that connection together. But when I was talking about that, I actually started to think about God, and I started to think about your connection with God, your connection with the source, right? The Most High, the truth, okay? And you can really equate it and use it there too, right? So I always talk about temptations on this channel, and that is a very important thing just in life, okay? Because you will be tempted to do a lot of things that are not in accordance, right? Tempted to do things that will steer you astray from the path, okay? And what will that do? That will weaken your signal. That will weaken your ability to be able to connect with the source. That will weaken your ability to be able to communicate with God, to be able to talk to God, to be able to have those conversations that are necessary to have with God. If you really want to be led correctly, if you really want to make sure that, hey, you know, I maintain the words, okay? Even if it's not, you know what I'm saying, not saying you're a person, right? Because I'm not the person I don't subscribe to any type of religion or anything like that, okay? I'm not the person that's saying you have to read the Bible. I'm not the person that says you have to read the Quran or anything like that, okay? But at the end of the day, people know right from wrong. People know a truth from a lie, okay? So if you're a person who even is in the word, then you're probably even more inclined to understand what I'm saying, right? You're a person who understands that, hey, that connection, it can be disrupted, okay? And it's a little bit different. Like, even with the internet connection, you can have different things that interfere with that signal, okay? You can have different, maybe you're driving through a forest or something. I'm not talking about that. The connection with God, that's an even stronger one, okay? But if it's even stronger, that means when it gets disrupted, then that's going to be an issue, okay? So think about it like that internet connection when it comes to connecting with God, okay? So when it comes into giving into temptations, okay, giving into lust, I always focus on that. But now let's talk about the other ones, okay? Greed, gluttony, deceit, lying, okay? When it comes to giving in a lot of these other things, that can weaken your connection with God, okay? That can weaken your connection with the source, okay? And your ability to be able to connect, because now you're engaging in these temptations all the time, okay? You're not holding true to what? Just simply staying true to yourself. If you want to keep it simple, you're not holding true to those words anymore. You may not be a person like me. I'll use myself as an example, right? Like, for example, if I was a person I'm making these videos and I'm telling you guys, hey, don't be out here sleeping around. But then, somebody was like, hey, you're out here sleeping around. I thought you said, then they're exactly right, okay? Then I would be lying to myself, and I would be I'd be weakening my connection with God, because I was like, you know what, I'm not going to be out here, being unfaithful to not only myself, but to any potential future partners that are out there. And then now I'm doing that, then that's something that's going to weaken the connection, okay? If I'm over here telling myself, hey, I'm going to be honest, I'm not going to be out here lying, I'm not going to be out here trying to deceive anybody, doing things like that, and then I go out here and I start lying and I start trying to deceive people, right? That's going to be something that weakens my signal, okay? I'm no longer going to have that fiber optic connection with God. I'm no longer going to have that, Google connection with God. I'm no longer going to have that, LAN, eventually be able to upgrade to that LAN cable with God, to where it's like he's right there when you need him, okay? That energy's right there when you need him. The spirit is right there when you need him. The soul is right there when you need him, okay? I'm going to start to lose that ability. If I was the person that would come on this camera, come on this mic, come on this phone, okay, come on this microphone and tell you guys these things, and then I was not also actively doing these things myself, okay, I would be lying, which fortunately I am not currently at this moment, okay? And if it ever came to a point where I, got back into engaging in temptation. If I was lying, if I was trying to deceive people, if I was, out here sleeping around, if I was engaging in lustful acts, if I was watching these videos, if I really was engaging in these thoughts, if I really was out here looking at these women like they're a piece of meat, okay, and it's something to eat, if I really was out here looking at other people's wives, if I really was out here looking at other people's women that they could be, and I was out here looking at them up and down, to the head, to the feet, if I was really out here doing that, I'd be lying to you. And I would be very honest with that on camera. I would tell you, hey, I was out here trying to tell y'all stuff to do that I wasn't doing. But fortunately, right now, right, I am holding up to it. I am still doing these things. So it's hopeful, right? Hopefully you're at still, but no, I'm going to stick to it. You got me. Hey. But yeah, so we got to be aware that these things, they can weaken your signal. Okay. So just like in the other video, how I mentioned that, you could accumulate these bodies out here, this DNA, these house partiers, okay? And that could start to give you that low connection, that ability to be able to connect with the person who may have been meant for you. Maybe God really did, you met this woman and it was great. And you're a woman and you met this guy, it was great, but there was just something that you guys just couldn't be together. Because one of y'all had just been sleeping around, or maybe both of y'all had just been sleeping around too much, engaging in these temptations too much, okay? And now your connection is that 1 bar SOS signal. It's the same thing with the other temptations. If you're out here always lying, deceiving, okay, trying to get over on people, out here just doing these things that are not in the best interest, okay, of the spirit of the soul, you will begin to weaken your connection. And you're going to know, okay? It will be very obvious, okay? Be clear. You'll know. You'll begin to weaken your connection to the source. You'll begin to weaken your connection to God, okay? And I'm saying you'll know because if I have experienced it as a person, that means other people have experienced it. For example, this is just one aspect of it, okay? And I'm still beginning. There's still stuff I have to learn, okay? I don't have all the answers. I know that. Okay, but from this experience, right, for example, post-nut clarity, let's talk about it. People who masturbate or, they may even have post-nut clarity after sleeping with a woman. Okay, and then you do or whatever, and then you're sitting there thinking like, dang, maybe I shouldn't have done that. Like, I feel a little bit guilty now. Okay, that's literally the spirit. That's literally what that is right there. That's literally your body telling you, hey, I think you're weakening something. I think you need to, hey, be a little careful. Like, maybe just watch it a little bit. Hey, I'm here. I'm right here. Hello. So maybe you should be careful when you do those things, because that's what that is. So whoever's watching, whoever's listening, you have experienced it. Whether you believe it or not, you have experienced it, okay? But whether you accept it, that's a little different. Whether you want to accept it or not, that's a little different. But you definitely have experienced it, okay? And that's what that is. So it's the same thing when it comes to the other temptations, right? Gluttony, lust, greed, deceit, lying. The more you give into that, right, the more you just start to just keep doing that all the time, okay, you weaken your connection, okay? You start to weaken your connection, and it becomes very obvious why. It's just because you're not being truthful with yourself. And when you're not being truthful to yourself and you're constantly lying to yourself, ultimately you know who you're lying to, okay? And it will be obvious, because then you'll have your own turmoils in your life. You'll start to get mad at things in your life, okay? You'll start to have your own issues going on, okay? And it doesn't always just have to be physical things. It doesn't always just have to be health things related to the body. It could be your own mental things, okay? It could be, once again, exercise is something I'm into, so that's why I talk from this point, right? This is where I have some type of experience. Maybe you're a person who wants to be able to get in shape, right? But now, because you've been lying to yourself for so long about, okay, I could do this, you know what I'm saying, and not get in shape, now all of a sudden you have created tension for yourself. You have created turmoil for yourself now, because you are disrupting the connection now, okay? Because you just keep just not telling yourself the truth, okay? I mean, it would be different if you just were like, you know what, I'm gonna just eat this food and it is what it is. Okay, then that's the truth, right? But it's different if you're saying that you want to do this, saying you want to try these things, but you're really not doing it, and then it's like, okay, so you're just disrupting the connection, okay? So once again, I urge people to, whoever's watching, whoever's listening, to try to maintain that connection. Try to maintain that fiber Wi-Fi, that fiber high speed internet, that 2 gigahertz, that 5 gigahertz, that LAN cable internet. That's where you want to be at. That's where you want to be at when it comes to connecting with God, connecting with spirit, connecting with the soul, connecting with the source. That is where you want to be at. You want to be able to maintain that signal at all times, okay? And it gets to a point where you have to realize that. And that's where it gets, you know what I'm saying? That's when it gets difficult, because from a young age, there's people who probably, I'm just being real, okay, have started in high school. I'm just being honest. I didn't start them, but there's people who started in high school, and that's what makes it so unfortunate. It really does. It really does make it unfortunate. There's people who started so young and they just weren't aware of these things, and then eventually, hopefully they eventually, they become older and then they become aware of it, and then they start, course correcting, because that's still great. But there's people who started so young, and it's just like, hey, they didn't know. They didn't know, right? They didn't know. You can't really, they didn't know. But there's people who started very young, and they don't even understand the type of stuff they're dealing with. They don't understand. They're disrupting that fiber, high-speed LAN cable connection, man, and they done slept around so much already before even reaching mid-20s, before even reaching 30, that now they got 2 bars, SOS, airplane mode connection, and they don't understand why things are happening in their lives. They don't understand why they can't get a wife, and they don't understand on the woman's side why they can't get a husband that's faithful, a husband that's loyal. And then on both of them, in their conscience, they just don't understand why they can't just get a situation that's going to be fruitful and work out for them. Well, when you start young like that, it's just like, hey, you're disrupting these connections, man, and then it gets harder to be able to connect with another person intimately on that level. It gets harder to be able to do that thing once you been disrupting that connection for so long. So once again, be aware of the temptations, and then most importantly, once you become aware of it, because there's a point where some people just are not, and people are young, right? People are kids. That's different. People are children, so obviously they're not gonna, it's not like, oh my gosh, hurry up, grow up, But it does get to a point where as they mature, as you mature as a person, and you become aware of these things that are out there and the type of connection that is, on the line, then, you'll want to have preserved that connection. And then there's gonna be people out there who may have been feeling the temptations of other people that are around them, right? Who may have a relationship, who may be into the deceit, who may be into the lying, who may be in the gluttony, who may be into giving into the lust constantly, who may try to tempt you, who may try to be like, oh, you don't want this girl, you don't want women, what are you, gay? What are you? Or, you're not trying to get into this, all you got to do is tell her this and lie about this. And even on the women's side, all you got to do is tell them this and lie about this, and then, bro, you're right in there. For the people who did not give into that, for the people who may have even felt guilty and felt urges to even do it and still didn't do it, you have maintained that connection, and that's a great thing. So you want to be able to preserve that connection. You want to be able to maintain that fiber, that 5-bar connection, that high-speed connection that eventually turns into that LAN cable if you're patient enough. Eventually turns into that LAN cable connection if you just give it enough time. So that's what you want to do. That is definitely what you want to do. And once again, it is not easy. It is not easy, because just the way of society that we live in, the way the world works that we live in, you got people trying to take people out that game before they're even aware that the game even exists. That's just how it is. You got people out here trying to take people out the game before they're even aware that the game even exists. You got people trying to disconnect people from that source before they're even aware that they were connected to a source. You got people out here trying to disconnect them for that Google high-speed fiber Wi-Fi LAN cable connection before they're even aware that they had that ability, before they were even aware that they had an opportunity to really be connected. And you got people out here targeting the children, people out here really trying to go after them because they understand that, hey, they got that source, they got that energy. So it really is a blessing, and it really is a gift, okay, to be grateful for and appreciative every day that you have, until your time passes. Everybody's time passes eventually, but until your time passes, it's always good every day to be grateful, to be appreciative, especially if you were able to preserve that connection. If you're a person who was not out here sleeping around with all these people, if you're a person who was not out here giving into all the deceit and trying to sell people dreams, if you were not out here doing that. And once you become aware, you stop. That's a big part. Once you became aware, you're like, you know what? I think I'm gonna stop, okay? Because some people, let's be real, they become aware at different ages. They start to make the decisions at different ages, and that's just the reality. Because as early as people try to take people out the game and try to get them disconnected from the source when they're younger, it works the other way too. It's just as old as people get, right? They can still realize, wait a minute, there's something going on here. There's something going on here, and I have a choice to make right now. And there's gonna be people who are older who go like, you know what? I am gonna make this change for the better. Okay? And because in the grand scheme of things, it's like small changes you have to make, but they are pretty big, right? And I know that sounds contradictory, and it is kind of, but it's small changes in the grand scheme of things, but in the moment, it seems so big. In the moment, it really does seem so big. So there are people who are a little bit older, all right? I'm 23. I'm a younger guy, right? Younger adult. But there are people who are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, right? Who had this inkling, I'm sure, in their life, and they finally were like, you know what? No. This is it. I'm done with that. This is it. And they decided, hey, I'm preserving this connection that I got left, and that's very good on them. And now they done worked their way up. Some people got their fiber connection back. Some people got their LAN cable connection back, and that's amazing. Some people went from 1 bar to 2 bars. Some people went from 2 bars to 3 bars. Some people went from 3 bars to 4 bars. Some people went from the 4 to 5 bar connection. Now they got the data back. Now they got unlimited wireless back. Now they have the connection to the source that they deserved to begin with. Okay? But once it does take realizing, and then not only realizing, but it takes the acceptance. And then once you accept it, it takes the actual actions behind it. Like, okay, I've accepted this. And now I'm actually going to put in some effort. I'm going to put in some work to, you know what? I got to be careful with these temptations out here. Okay, I got to be careful with this lust out here. Okay. I got to be careful with this greed out here. Okay. I got to be careful with this gluttony out here. Okay. I got to be careful with, trying to deceive people. Okay. Trying to lie to people. Okay. You start to watch out for it. Okay. And then it gets to a point where once you have got that connection, okay, especially once you get up into that 5 bar range, even if you just felt the connection before, but even when you get up into that 5 bar LAN cable range, it's going to be easy to detect hiccups. It's going to be easy to detect, okay, something's off here. I shouldn't be lying. I feel like lying right now, but something ain't right if I lie right now. Nah, I can't do it. I feel like trying to deceive this person right now. Something ain't right if I do it. Nah, I can't do it. Something's off right here. I don't really know if I should. Nah, I can't do it. It's going to get to that point, and that's beautiful. Although other people might look at you, what? You want to be with all these women? What? I'm giving you this. Who do you think you are? Oh my gosh, who do you think you are? You think you're better than me? You think you're... And it's not any of that at all. Okay? You just understand the connection, and some things are just not meant for everybody, that's all. Some things are just not meant for everybody, that's all. Okay? So, once again, make sure you are able to recognize the temptations out there. Make sure you are able to resist the temptations out there, okay? Because once again, the temptations are strong. Make sure you're able to have a control over your thoughts, okay? The thoughts that enter, and the thoughts that enter that are the tempting thoughts, okay? The thoughts that are telling you, watch this video. The thoughts that are telling you, call this girl. The thoughts that are telling you, hook up with this woman. The thoughts that are telling you, get with this man, right? For the women. The thoughts that are telling you, dang, did you see that man's girl? Oh my gosh, man, I'm going to take his girl. No, those are the things that start to hinder your connection. And trust me, you do not want to be a part of that. You do not want to be a part of that, because you're going to know when the connection's getting disrupted. Now you got to argue with everybody to try to defend your ego. Okay, you done slept with these people. Now all of a sudden it's some kind of sparring match with the egos. Like, no, I slept with this woman because of this, and I did this because of this. And that's how you know that it's a problem, okay? That you don't want to be there. That's how you know it's an issue, okay? When you start having to try to make an excuse for yourself of why you slept with all those people, why you, lied to all those people. Why'd you try to deceive all those people? Why you try to, get over on all these people? Why are you trying to do all these things, right? Okay, now you have to try to, come up with excuses for yourself. And me personally, right, it's not preferable to me. Obviously, there's some people who probably could care less. And hey, that's the truth. And hey, that's good on them. Now, I say it's good. Hey, good on them, okay? Because once again, not for everybody. Some people out there that are cool with that SOS airplane mode connection, but hey, good on them. I'm not the person that's about to be here once again trying to, change everybody and everything. You can change yourself though. So focus on that. But once again, that is the video. Hope you took something that you can apply to some aspect of your life for some kind of positive outcome, some kind of positive change. And with that being said, make sure you guys are out there maintaining that fiber connection, that LAN cable connection. With that being said, that's the video. Hope you enjoyed. Peace.